The views and opinions expressed by guests on this podcast are solely their own and do not represent the position of the host, this show, or any organization either party is affiliated with. All content is shared purely for educational and inspirational purposes. Nothing discussed here constitutes professional advice. Listeners are encouraged to independently verify any information before acting on it. The host is not responsible for any outcomes resulting from guest statements. By listening, you agree that you are solely responsible for how you use the information shared. Welcome to the Tech Sharmit podcast, where technology is not just news, but the roadmap to the future. This is a space where we explore the latest tech trends, AI, startups, gadgets, and the ideas that redefine the way we think. Leading this conversation is Amit Sharma, globally recognized as Tech Sharmit. A technologist from Bharat, Amit brings an Indian perspective to the global technology landscape. With deep technical expertise and strong industry insight, and for his contributions and impact within the global tech community, he has been recognized with several prestigious honors, including Google Developer Expert, Microsoft MVP, IBM Champion, and Planet Mainframe Influencer. Through this podcast, he shares practical knowledge, real-world perspectives, and globally relevant thinking designed to help you stay ahead in an ever-evolving technology landscape. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to the Tech Sharmit channel to stay updated with future episodes. And if you're looking to level up your skills, don't forget to explore the Tech Sharmit digital course book in the description box, where you'll find thousands of free programming courses curated to help you grow as a developer. So plug in your headphones and join us as we begin today's episode of the Tech Sharmit podcast.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Tech Sharmit podcast. Today I am joined by another very special guest, Danny Kruge, who is joining us from Netherlands, and originally he is from United Kingdom. If I talk about Danny, he is one of the well-known data platform MVP and mission critical engineer at Schuberg Philis, with a career that has evolved from SQL Server DBA to Azure engineer, platform engineer, architect, and data engineer. So today in this episode, we will talk about Azure, data engineering, performance optimization, Azure Data Factory, and many more things. But before we get started into all these discussion, I would like to thank Danny for joining us today in this episode. And now I request you to please initiate the discussion by telling us a bit about yourself.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me. But as you said, I'm Danny Kruge. I'm living in the Netherlands, but I'm actually an English guy, originally from Leicester. I'm a data platform MVP, and I originally am a SQL Server DBA, but now I wear many hats, as I said also, and now I've been Azure engineer, platform engineer, architect, putting them all under like one big bubble now, wearing all different bits.
Okay. So, Danny, before we start the discussion, I just want to know about one of your project that you started when you initially moved to Azure. Because last year, when one of your project moved to Azure, you'd only know about Azure by its name at that time. So, could you please walk us through that moment? Like, what did the first few weeks of learning on the fly actually look like? Like, how it all started, and what were the challenges for you at that time?
It's a good question. So I got introduced to the project by actually, there was an issue on the SQL Server. Someone was running a query that was just going on, and I got the call because everything was just getting blocked. Like, why is nothing working? When I looked at the SQL Server, I saw this query coming in, which was just going on for like 18 hours, and they were trying to pull data out. I was like, guys, where is this coming from? And then when I found out this project was going on, I'm like, whoa, okay, well, what are you trying to achieve? And then I got on board and then to ship data into then like SharePoint Online and using Power BI as well, rather than having it on-prem. So they were trying to integrate it with Azure. I had no idea. I never used Azure before, but I know how to move data fast. And I was very good with SSIS packages and moving around. So I got involved with Data Factory. I looked online and found out Data Factory could be one, but that wasn't I started trying to move like a backup there. I was using DMS? It's called Data Migration Services, moving data across into Azure. That was in 4 hours. So I was like, okay, that's a benefit. How can I make it go faster? That's when Data Factory came in, and I managed to utilize it a lot. But because I had core SQL skills, I knew how to get the data out fast by querying it in the correct way. And
Correct.
I learned a lot about Azure then. And then Azure Data Factory is my baby, and I know it, and I know it inside out now. But at the time, it was like, okay, what is this tool? Okay, how can I work? How can I make it work? It's like a better version of SSIS.
Okay.
It all just went on from there.
So Danny, let's say if, in 2026, if someone wants to follow the same path you followed for Azure, right? So what are the initial skill that they should know? Like anything that you can say that yes, these are the mandatory thing that you should know before moving into this zone.
It's the foundation of how Azure works. So, what are
Mhm.
private endpoints? What are the resources and how can you utilize them? What are basic architectural designs?
Mhm.
So, Enter ID, if you're building the permission architectural model, how that kind of works. And then, even going from the top down. So, you have management groups, subscriptions, resource groups. What does it all mean? What are they used for? If you
Correct.
don't know that, it's very hard to get started because you're not going to know how landing zones and all these different glorious terms are, what they mean and why, and how to like even get started. You could
Hmm.
start from the most basic of knowing what a resource is, but you need to know the fundamental parts around it. That's
Correct.
really a good starting point.
Okay. And I think when you started your journey, you started as a SQL Server DBA, and later you
Correct.
grew into the Azure engineer, platform engineer, architect, and data engineer roles. So, was that breadth a deliberate career strategy for you, or did the Schuberg Philis mission's critical environment just force you to wear every hat that you have followed throughout your journey?
Yeah, then that's how that company works. So
Okay.
basically, it was never my dream of going, I need to do all these different things, wear all my hats and everything like that. But in way times have changed, in the sense of everyone was saying the SQL Server DBA role will have been killed off many years ago. In a sense, in where I am working at the moment, it kind of has. There is a necessity for it sometimes, but my fundamental knowledge is there, my foundation. But then you call it like a T-shaped engineer. So that's
Mhm.
my actual foundation. And then everything around it, like platform wise, is I know enough about it to be able to work on it. And
Okay.
then I know, okay, if a SQL Server DBA job just goes, I can do this. I have enough skills to then do that role and so forth. But with Schuberg Philis, each engineer is T-shaped. So then you have a network engineer, a Linux like super nerd. You have me as a data nerd, and you bring all these nerds together, but you can cross like each other's knowledge and help out each other. But you make
Mhm.
a team which can serve a humongous corporation with only like a few handful of engineers. And we serve some of the largest company of the Netherlands with like 5 people.
You know what? With this explanation, I can confidently say that the person who has that kind of mindset, especially in the initial days, no one can take his job, even AI, because at that time you were so much prepared that yes, if
Yeah,
something happened to this role, I can adopt this. If something happened to
exactly.
that, I can adopt anything. So I think this is the best way to handle all your challenges of migrating from one place to another, and also from like one technology to another. So
Correct.
I think this is the right mindset for every developer.
Yeah, and for me, that foundation is very strong. So a lot of people
Yeah.
question saying, okay, but how do I get involved? There's so much to learn. I understand, but find that one thing first and then branch around it rather than going, I need to absorb everything. It doesn't work.
Right. Okay. And again, like not only the technical things or the professional role, you also change your location because you were originally from England, right? And now you
Yeah,
live in
that's
the Netherlands.
correct.
So how did that move shape your career path into Dutch tech and the local Azure community? Like how it were there any challenges at that time when you shifted from England to Netherlands?
Luckily, they're very similar in their culture and
Okay.
also the working culture at the time. Maybe it's different in England. They're getting better from where
Mm-hmm.
I'm from in Leicester. But at the time when I first moved here, it was a breath of fresh air. You could really get you weren't a number. So when you go into these corporate settings, you're not treated like a human. And I wasn't in the times when I was in Leicester. And it sucked. It was not fun. If your job is gone, they don't care. They just they replace you with someone or AI, whatever. But these places where I've worked, you mean something. They actually want to know you as a person rather than, okay, you are here 9 to 5, get out. And then that's it. Now I work so much harder because I had so much more input and enthusiasm and respect for the place I'm working at. That really helped me like stick around. And my plan was not to stay here. I thought I'd be here for the summer, and it's a very long summer 9 years later.
It's quite long. Okay. Yeah, and you talked about your expertise. I'm sure like there are so many things that we can discuss here, but let's go one by one. Because one of your interesting project I noticed is that that you cut a data upload process from 18 hours down to the 12 minutes, which is a huge difference, right? And later help bring a report generation job also down from 9 to 12 hours to 2. So,
Yep.
can you please take us through that part and just let us know about those optimization process? Maybe any project you can pick, like what was the actual bottleneck there and how you fixed that things. What was your overall plan?
I can talk about this a lot, so I'll try and condense it as well because I have so many sessions. So there is sessions online. So if you look for like 18 hours and 12 minutes, you'll find a full 45-minute session.
Yeah.
But to cut it down in short, because this was a really fun one, and this is where I started. So I mentioned it earlier about how I started into Azure.
Yes.
But the 18 hours part came when they wanted to get a data set from Power BI, and it was just importing the data in. But they didn't realize it's like a 60 gigabyte data set and 200 million rows they were
Mm-hmm.
trying to consume. And this is where that one SQL query was just running for 18 hours and blocked everything. And they wanted to run this report every morning. 18 hours is not going to run every morning if you're still running it and so forth. So I was like, okay, how can I utilize it? And this is where Data Factory came. And what I was able to do with the integration runtimes and with Data Factory, you can have a dynamic where clause. And basically, on the IDs of the SQL Server database, I could say, okay, pick this like section, pick this section. I was running around 40 different SQL queries at the same time, hitting the SQL Server as hard as I can, obviously testing it first, and then when it was ready for production, going out. But I could get that in 12 minutes because a lot of the compute would go on these integration runtimes. They would fire at the SQL Server database and just retrieve that data because I optimized the SQL queries.
Mm-hmm.
What was happening with the 18-hour one, they were using the on-premise data gateway. And
Okay.
what I could see was as it grabbed the data, it would take it to the on-premise data gateway, compress it, wait 4 seconds, and shoot it across in 16 megabyte chunks. That's it. And now you're stuck with integration runtimes. Fly.
Correct.
It was a big difference. I could really put some power through it.
Yeah, it's very big difference because completely like we can see the difference in ours also. Like once it was taking too much time, and now you have just simplified it with your skill capabilities and expertise. So I think this is the best one of your best project, I would say, because there are so many other things that on which you have worked and optimized the things nicely.
Yep.
So fine. And another thing, Danny, like you are particularly passionate about the Azure Data Factory. So
Yes.
what's a data factory pattern or maybe the pipeline design you see team get wrong over and over when you are working with your team because you have worked with different team, right? So
Yep.
what is one pattern you have observed that yes, this is something that is common for everyone or this is something where everyone is doing something wrong? So what are those common pitfalls?
There is quite a few, and I think that I have another session about like these optimizations of Data Factory as well. So it's not all about the 18 hours to 12 minutes. It's going over how you can really utilize it. There is sessions online which you'll find these as well. But briefly to go through it is using the right tool for the job. Data
Mhm.
Factory has so many different, it's like a Swiss Army knife. You have so many different ways of doing things. If you choose the wrong one, it can be in a world of pain. And for example, when a customer was using SQL Server queries, they were triggering stored procedures from Data
Mhm.
Factory. Okay, fine. But when they were triggering 600 and they had to go in every few seconds, what I saw was every time it made a call, you had a bit of a network latency. That took 1 or 2 seconds to hit the store procedure. Fine. Then the store procedure runs, and then it has to do a callback, and then it has to do it again. If those 2 seconds on the call and the call back, times that by 600, you're waiting hours. This was going on for 3 hours. You can then utilize it differently or choose a different method of having the store procedures on SQL Server on itself, or having a different pattern. So there's many ways people fall in this trap. And the second one is data flows. I had a customer, they were utilizing data flows instead of a copy job. They were not doing any transformations. They were moving from left to right. But what you need to know with a data flow in Data Factory, it uses a Spark cluster. That takes 4 minutes spin up time. If you're moving 2 megs of data and you're waiting for 4 minutes, a copy job is just instant. It uses whatever integration runtime you have. If that's auto-resolved, if it's Azure, that's seconds. So you're waiting 4 minutes for spin up and then for it to shut down again. Many of these pitfalls, people just, because it's easy to get started, but it's very easy to make these similar mistakes.
Right. And that cluster duration is also fixed, right? Every time, like it process for 4 minutes, which you just mentioned.
Yeah, so you can have ways around it. You have different ways of optimizing that as well, which is like that time to live. So I think if you did have a lot of data you want to consume, you could spin up that Spark cluster and have it making sure it stays alive for, say, an hour. And if you utilize that, it's costly if you do so, but if you're actually using it, it's fine. But they weren't. They would spin it up in the morning, try and run this one, shut down, run up, shut down. It made no sense if you're not utilizing the low-code transformation methods rather than just shifting the data from left to right with a copy job.
Okay. And then you mentioned about the sessions, which is present in online. So is there any YouTube channel or any other platform where you have uploaded those sessions? Let's say if someone wants to see those sessions.
These have been mixed, actually. These are from conferences that I've spoken around the world, or online communities. So I'll give the links to yourself so you can put it with the video and the people can use them. I started doing Data Factory courses for Azure Heroes, the community which I run, and they're still ongoing. So then you can really learn about Data Factory itself on my own channel.
Okay. And you just mentioned about the Azure Heroes, and I think this is the right time to talk about that great initiative and great community you started. So what actually made you to start this Azure Heroes rather than just attending some other existing user groups or some other existing community events? So we just said us like what were the gap that you tried to fill with this community effort?
It's a very good question, and it's one I was asked recently, and it is actually interesting to answer because it was me and my friend Vladimir Stevanovic. He's another MVP. I used to work with him, and we had this idea of making an Azure Saturday. In the Netherlands, it flopped. It didn't go so well, but it was like, okay, well, how can we have something which is like our own initiative? There is many different meetup groups in the Netherlands, so it was like, okay, well, you're entering a world of a lot of other meetups already going on, and in the Netherlands itself, there's tons of all different technology areas. But for me, it was a personal thing. It was like, I want to build something which I can really be proud of and watch it grow from the ground up. Because people even at Schuberg Philis said, well, why don't you go to Azure Thursdays? Why don't you work with them? They're actually on my top here. You got Azure Heroes here. And I don't compete with them. I collaborate with them. So with the Dutch Fabric user group, with Azure Thursdays, I made a huge community day. And this was where I was just about to say before, colleagues at Schuberg Philis said, why don't you join Azure Thursdays and so forth? I said, well, no, then I have so much energy and enthusiasm. I'm giving it to them for their thing. Yes, they can benefit from it, but I want to build it myself. I want to build this community and make something which I've never seen before and make it grow. And now this ball has been rolling for years now. And I have 4 different organizers who help me out. And we make this community day. We had over 200 people come. It's a fully free event. And it was amazing. And it makes me so proud because that's my baby. That's what
Correct.
I've been working towards. It's a lot of fun. It's a very different sense of achievement when you've built it from the ground up yourself. And maybe I'm selfish in that way for how I started, because I didn't help out another community. But in a way, I am helping them now, because now we collaborate and I've got them on board with mine and we're working
Correct.
together.
And one thing I noticed that other than these conferences, sessions, or community work, you also wrote the articles. So you wrote one of the most popular article for Simple Talk, Redgate.
Yep.
So could you please tell us like what was that article about and what feedback or maybe the reaction from the community surprised you most about this article?
This one is it gives me goosebumps now thinking about it. It was a lot of fun writing that one, because you go through a transition in your career, and this is what happened to me. So when I came to the Netherlands and started working at this company, which it was called Albelly at the time. They've changed names, but I was a SQL Server DBA there. And what happened was, it's different then. This is before AI. I was going through different websites trying to find answers, which I couldn't find. I couldn't find how to do these certain ways. So I'd build it myself. And then you realize, okay, no one's doing what you've done before, or you can't find it. So you're building it yourself. These are so cool when you start doing it, stuff like that. And that's what I did for this article. It was moving. You have a thing called integers and big integers. Integers only go up to a certain number, which is like 1.2 billion or million, whatever it is. It doesn't matter. But there is a limit, and this has took down systems around the world. This has even affected Microsoft once upon a time, where it took down their systems because they ran out of integers. But in SQL Server, it's different in some of now versions. But at that time, we were using SQL Server on-prem, and it requires a lot of downtime to actually fix this, to change that whole column of that many rows to a big integer. So I came up with the concept of using synchronizing to a different server, doing a backup, and then just pulling pieces back by like an object level recovery. So the table would be then stored back, and then I could actually just keep going and going and going, doing the inserts of what's live. And we had about, I think, 9 minutes of downtime instead of, like, it was equivalent to 9 hours, which it would have took if we actually did it the way of being. So I wrote this all out, and I did it through AdventureWorks. So you can follow along the same concept of what I did and why. I think it's called the int to big int conundrum. You'll find it.
All right. So now we'll talk about one of your important role that as a mission critical engineer. So when we heard about this term, sometime it got confuses us, right? So how do you define this mission critical in practice? Like what actually it is, and what's your personal checklist before you sign off that yes, this system is now production ready. We have make sure that everything is perfect as per the critical scenarios. So what is your checklist, and what exactly the mission critical practice is for you?
It's a good question. So Schuberg Philis, who I work for, we only look after customers which are mission critical. And I call it the fun stuff, because why? It means every decision you make is very important, because any downtime could be so costly. These are corporations which could be €1,000,000 per minute, half an hour, whatever. But if you design something which is broken, you have a lot of cost to pay, which is not good. So you have to make it so resilient. So when it comes to mission critical, it means there's a cost for zero downtime. You have to build it so highly available that if that's cross region, multiple availability zones, and making sure we can actually utilize that. There's many companies I've worked for in the past. They do not test their disaster recovery methods. If you don't test it, how do you know it works? So every year we have to do that. And it's also a compliance thing. So I've leaded these projects multiple times, but you make sure you fail over to a different availability zone or shut down as many servers, but we don't do it in a soft way. If you're doing this on-prem, this is the most fun, because we actually go into the data center and yank the cables out. Full shutdown. make sure, and if that server pops, okay, it popped. What can we do? Are we actually failed over? If not, how do we make sure we don't do this again? How do we make sure next time it's fail safe? And then that's only one check. But if we build systems for a customer, we have to go through two separate checks. And that would be, we call it an OAT, which is an operational acceptance test. And that's to make sure whatever I've built gets checked by another engineer. And he has to verify every single setting is correct to what we designed. And if not, okay, can we change it? Does it need a rebuild? Sometimes it does in Azure. If you've done whatever it could be, naming conventions even, we have to check that. Are backups there? Or can you shut it off? Can you turn it back on? Is it resilient? And then we have the second one, which is the PAT, the production acceptance test. All the same tests again on our production system, also including the disaster recovery. Can you actually remove that server, rebuild it? Is it backup? Can you restore? All these different resilience tests to make sure we feel like it's bulletproof, basically.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, thank you so much, Danny, for joining us today in this episode and for sharing your expertise with everyone regarding Data Foundry, and also for sharing those interesting projects with everyone for the optimization. Now, I think people can relate like how optimization work happened in the industry. And I really also enjoyed the discussion which you not only the discussion but all your work regarding the, like, you have contributed in different roles, whether as a article author or maybe through your conferences and through your user group also. Before we just conclude this thing, I just want to know about the community. Like, let's say if someone wants to join that community, so is there any way through which people from abroad can also join this community by giving some sessions or something like that?
Yeah, we have so the meetup wise, it would be a bit more difficult. But even this year, we had someone come from a different country all the way just for the event. Obviously,
Okay.
it's very hard for us to host. We don't do that for attendees. So he had to pay on his own accord. But for
Yeah.
speakers, especially, we have a call for paper, call for speakers, whatever you want to call it. That will be out, and you can see that either on my LinkedIn, I'll be promoting it. So there'll be, I can put my link in there. And also on the Azure Heroes website, you'll also find it on there. And then I am hoping this year, there's a lot of tricks I have on my sleeve for next year. I won't, I have too many secrets I can't tell now,
Yeah,
but it's
I
going to
can
be
understand.
bigger and better next year, where we hope for a lot bigger conference, where we should have a lot more sponsors so we can bring people from abroad speaker wise to help actually have accommodation and so forth.
Yeah.
So our actual meetups are in person, so it's hard to follow up online. But you'll see many cool stuff which I promote through
Yeah.
LinkedIn and so forth if we do have.
All right. So, yeah, thank you once again, Danny, for joining us today in this episode. It was
You're
pleasure
most
talking to
welcome.
you.
Thank you for having me.
Now I want to ask you one tool, any underrated tool that you feel that yes, this is something that every person should know about, particularly about AI. Any underrated tool or platform where more leaders should pay attention to it. So, what tool you would suggest?
Now, what is happening for Microsoft Fabric is a game changer.
Mm-hmm.
And where they're utilizing, so there's so many different connectors that can go in, and you have this thing which people may know or may not know called One Lake. So you have your unified like platform and a storage layer. Where this becomes interesting is where Microsoft is changing the game of where they have different ways of accessing it. So you have these data agents, you have different ways of mapping out all your different entities in there.
Mm-hmm.
So then you can make this whole business context and asking questions directly to the data. It's
Okay.
not there yet, but the amount of effort they're putting in, when that comes, you can have HR asking data about what they want to know internally about their human resources part. You can have
Correct.
finance
Correct.
talking about theirs, but they have the whole concept of the estate of what the actual business context is. That is huge, and that will be a big game changer. That's one to keep the eye on of how you can really get the ontology of the business. That's the one. That's
Okay.
cool.
All right. Now, same thing. Same. We'll talk about the tools, but from the person that are completely unaware about tech. They are not aware about the technology. They are not about the AI, but they are interested in using the AI tool. So could you please give them some tips like how they can start using AI in their day-to-day life, maybe as a chatbot or anything that could help them to save their time, and they are completely non-technical person?
The best one. That's an easy question to answer because I use it a lot now. And if you
Okay.
just go, it's just Google. If you go on Google and you click AI mode, I
Mm-hmm.
use this every day, all the time now. Because why is I've spent so many years going through Microsoft Learn documents, trying to find that little bit of detail. Which port can I use? Which network configuration does this have to be? When I
Okay.
use AI mode, it literally will go through the different Microsoft Learn pages, get me my answer in a human readable form rather than
Correct.
just having to scrape through and give me the answer. Then I can keep talking to it. But the power of it is that they reference each page. So when you click on the reference of where it got its answer from, you can see immediately that it's telling the truth. You can verify the answer. That is a time saver galore, because if you're building a system and you want to know the answer, what is the port for SQL Server? Boom, you don't have to go through Stack Overflow. It does it
Correct.
for you. It goes through Reddit, Stack Overflow. So you get a really honest answer. That is a game changer.
Yeah, and I also agree because now you are not supposed to follow each and every article or websites to get your answer, because AI is doing it for you, right? You can just click on that AI mode and then you can ask the cross question also, like if you want to ask something in detailed manner. And also we will get that reference link. So let's say if you want
Yep.
to study it in deeper way, you can click it and you can get the information. So I think that's the best use case you can adopt if you are from the non-technical background. Just try, give it a try and see like how AI is helping your search, right? In search, like if you want to search out something, so it will really help you out. Okay. So, Danny, like we talked about technical things, and I'm sure like with Microsoft MVP, there are so many other things that I can ask here on technical terms, but we are short on time. So I just want to take a few more questions before we conclude the discussion. And this question is regarding the support of network, because we all know that uh, behind every successful person, there is a support of network, core person, core people who help them in their journey. So looking back on your journey, who were the key people around you who had a defining impact on your journey so far?
Uh, Two people I can name. One of them was when I first started becoming a SQL Server DBA, and he was Phil Dobson. So he actually gave me the benefit of the doubt. So I studied for CCNA, being a syswork network engineer. Didn't
Mm-hmm.
get the job, but they realized, because I did that on my own accord, my own benefit. Well, if this guy can learn his Cisco systems and networking, why can't we teach him SQL? And they did. I went into a junior SQL Server DBA role. I then just studied my butt off on Pluralsight, watching like videos for 8 hours a day. And then I learned from him a lot about all I know about SQL. We were just doing, he would give me assignments, demos to fix, and so forth.
Okay.
And that really helped me grow in that part. The second person would be Patrick Dezout. He's who I currently work with. He was my coach for the past 5 years. He helped my confidence grow and helped me define of where I could focus my time and energy, and made me realize I had such a bigger depth of knowledge that I even thought I had, and helped me
Mhm.
just benefit becoming who I am today, which was really, really cool.
Okay. All right. Got it. So now, before we conclude this discussion, I want to know a bit more about the place you belong from. So, as a proud citizen of United Kingdom, I know like there are so many good things about UK, but one thing that is really close to your heart and that you wish to share with the global audience, because this podcast will be consumed by global audience. So, one thing if you had to share with them, so what you would like to share about United Kingdom?
Now, it's a good question. There's a lot of things, and the main one, I only just came back recently. I was visiting family, but I stayed in a place called Norfolk, and it's a small, like a lot of the villages there are really small. They're really small, tiny cottages, like really tiny, old school ways of living, and it's beautiful. The architecture, the design. You when you're going through these different fields, you'll come across castles, old buildings, and the history there. There's something so beautiful about seeing all these different historic buildings. That I love. And with the weather recently, we got to go out a lot and see it, and you can just go and see these beautiful areas. That's something I really love and could spend a lot of time there.
Okay, I think now you have given a good place for everyone for the vacation. So those who are the nearby, they will for sure explore this area, and they will also enjoy their weather and also the location. So yeah, thank you so much, Denny, for joining us today in this episode and for sharing so much information regarding the AI, especially for also giving the tips for the new users like who are not technical, who are not from the technical background. But the way you have explained the things about AI, I'm sure like they can also explore it and they can also figure out like how AI can help them to solve their problems. So it was
Yep.
really a pleasure talking to you, and I really appreciate your presence here. So thank you once again for being a part of the show.
Thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun. So thank you.
Thanks.